like to clarify something right quick before I get started with this book. This book, Men Will Lie When the Truth Will Do, is an actual book that I found on Amazon. And yes, people, it was the only book. And yes, it was very, very hard to find. Men Will Lie When the Truth Will Do is not my book. I did not write the book. Miss Terry Smith wrote the book in 2000, came out with the book in 2004, detailing her relationship with Steve Harvey. Men Will Lie When the Truth Will Do, The King, His Queen, and His Other Woman is one whole book. I'm reading it in parts, but it is one whole book that actually did come out in 2004 for a little bit of time. But when Steve Harvey found out, he contacted Terry Smith. Some deal was made where $120,000 was exchanged, and she took him back to court in 2007 because she said that he took all her rights to her book, but whatever happened, we never heard of the book. Basically, what I'm trying to say, people, is that if you're a little confused about what's going on, that means obviously you have not went back and watched the rest of Geneva's Closet Steve Harvey videos, because it is practically a series, people. You might want to go back and look at the video entitled Steve Harvey, Wife and Side Chicks, because that video gives a little bit more information about Terry Smith, Steve Harvey, their relationship, and what actually happened in court. But now we are about to get into the fourth and final reading of Men Will Lie When the Truth Will Do, The King, His Queen, and His Other Woman. So, check this out. Hey everybody, this is Geneva of Geneva's Closet Talk Show. Please make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to Geneva's Closet if you haven't already done so right here on YouTube. And you can follow me on Facebook at Geneva's Closet. And you can email me at genevascloset22@gmail.com. Now, let's get into the news. Days later, I tried his manager's office, but got a recording. Then I called the television studio, his publicist, his travel agent, and even the concierge of the building where he had his penthouse. Nobody knew where to find Stefan, or else they knew he didn't want to be found by me. I didn't find Stefan, but I did find some help from his lawyer, Michael Johnson. We met many times at social functions, and he struck me as someone you could talk to. He hadn't been talking to Stefan, though, and had no idea where he might be. I told him about the attorney, the collectors, and all the overdue payments. He was floored and couldn't believe that Stefan had let things go like this. He asked if I still had heat and lights. Funny, but that was about all I had. That and my insurance, like hospitalization, had always been paid a year in advance. Michael asked if I was eating, and I told him no. I couldn't sleep either. He wired me $500 through Western Union and told me to hang in there. As soon as the connection broke, I dialed Stefan's office and a direct line to the personal assistant. Michelle, have you heard from Steph? No, Carrie. No, Mr. Harvey hasn't came, and I'm shutting down my computer to leave for the day. Sure, she was impatient to get home. She still had one. Michelle, you mean to tell me that Stefan hasn't called at all since I spoke with you days ago? No, he hasn't. I did leave your message on his voicemail. I didn't mention that it was an emergency. Hopefully he'll call you sometime this weekend. Clothes rustled, drawers slammed, and I heard the swivel chair squeak as she stood up. You're his assistant, so shouldn't you know where he is? I was beyond being desperate and yelled at her. Carrie, I told you that I did not know where he was, she said carefully. Now, I'm leaving for the weekend. Michelle, Carrie, I have someone waiting for me. Good night. Click. She hung up on me. What to do? What? I can't think. I'm an emotional wreck and physically drained. I want to work out, but I can't go back to the gym. There's a Western Union in the drugstore at the strip mall around the corner. I can pick up the wire funds from there. I'll walk up to the store. Yes, that should help clear my mind, or at least give me some peace from the phone ringing. Stefan never would go to the gym, but he knows how important it is to me. It's my favorite way to pamper myself, so he encouraged me to go. Yeah, he liked what it did for me and for him. When I'm prancing around the house in my bra and thong, there's not one dimple on my ass. Following Tuesday. Miss Strong? Hello? Miss Strong? Yes. I cringed when I heard the attorney's voice on the phone. Hello, Miss Strong? I can barely hear you. This is Leonard Greenberg again. We spoke on Monday a week ago, and I informed you that the close of business Friday this week is the deadline for bringing the mortgage payments up to date on 443 Rye-Crest Ridge Place. Do you think you're going to have your payment in before the end of business Friday? I don't know. What was that, Miss Strong? I didn't hear you. I said I don't know. I raised my voice and didn't much care if he liked it or not. Miss Strong, I don't know isn't quite what we hoped to hear. Did you try asking any of your family members or friends if they can help? Friends like whom? I snorted. Miss Strong, I'm sure I can't answer that question for you. You've been staying in the house for months now without anyone honoring the loan commitment. As much as I would like to stay in my home for free, it's impossible. Someone has to pay the bills, right? Now, I know Mr. Harvey was staying there with you at one time, and the mortgage is in his name. Have you tried calling him? I skipped straight over the stupid question about calling Stefan and challenged the not very discreet reference to us both living in the house. What do you mean he stayed here with me at one time? He still lives here. We are here together. He hasn't been here much this month because he's on the road traveling. Miss Strong, please. You must understand, I wasn't implying that the two of you weren't together, but this is his debt, and you should consult him. This is a very serious matter which leads to eviction. Our clients don't like to see people put out of their homes. We just want to resolve the back payments. Please feel free to give me a call if there's anything I can assist you with, Miss Strong. There's another call on my hold that I need to take. Thank you. And he hung up on me again. If I had to call a man for help that I knew would piss Stefan the hell off, then I was willing to do just that to survive. Linwood, how can I ask him for money after I did what I did to him? By the second year of my relationship with Stefan, the communication between Linwood and I has slowed down and eventually stopped. He did call once to check on me a couple of years later after he heard about Stefan's marriage. When he called, I could tell he'd been drinking. Linwood was drunk enough that he blurted out things he never had the nerve to say sober. I had hurt him twice, and he was no longer willing to put his heart out there anymore. The first time I had gotten engaged and married another man while I was seeing him. The second time I had been involved with Stefan. He rambled on about me choosing Stefan, making love to him, and then when he marries another woman, I stayed with him. When he finally ran out of ways to say how hurt he was, he and I agreed it was best that he no longer called. I knew Stefan didn't like him at all. When asked to tell the story of how we met, Stefan would tell things as if he'd seen them, not as they were. He would say that Carrie came to the comedy club with another man that she just called a friend. Linwood's last words before hanging up had been that I was his baby doll, and he would always love me. Well, it's that love and our friendship that I'm banking on. I have to do something. Once I call asking to borrow money, he's going to know something is up. Linwood used to follow Stefan's career. I'll just say that something is going on with my mother and she needs some financial help. Lord forgive me. I know he wouldn't refuse to help my mother, and I don't want him to worry about me. I'm ashamed of myself, even as I pick up the phone. Well, hello, Linwood, it's Carrie. Carrie? Yes. Wow, you must have been reading my mind. How are you doing, baby doll? Just to hear his voice made my heart start beating fast. I fought back tears and got ready to start lying. I'm fine. Are you sure? I can barely hear you. I'm okay, but my hand is twisted in the phone cord and my eyes are swimming. How is your mother? I haven't called her since Christmas a couple of years ago. I hope she's not disappointed in me. His voice was warm, sincere, and like a fuzzy blanket I love to wrap myself in to hide from the world. Who could ever be disappointed in you, Linwood? How are you doing these days? Sweetheart, I'm doing great, he bubbled. That's my Linwood, always the optimist and seeing the best in everything. Business is good. My parents are healthy, and I just got engaged. Engaged? A breath caught in my throat. Yes, baby, engaged. I've been seeing this woman at my church for a couple of years now. We sit on the same church committees, but I've known her for at least 5 years. Linwood, I'm happy for you. My voice began to quiver. I really am. What's wrong? I can hear there's something not right with you, Carrie. As sweet as ever, he was still concerned about me after all that had happened. The tears began to roll down my face. I just couldn't hold them back any longer. I'm okay, really. I'm just happy to hear that you found your angel on earth. I can't think of anyone who deserves happiness more than you. Baby, I just wanted to find happiness like you have. Oh, Linwood, if you only knew. After our last conversation, it took some time for me to come to terms with the fact that you love Stefan. You stuck with him even after he got married, and that finally made me realize that you two really do love one another. It took a lot of courage to move all the way out to the West Coast to be with him. And look, you two are still together. That's wonderful. His career is going quite well too, according to what I've read. See what hard work can do for you? He got to his own HBO special, a television show, and now a movie that's coming out. Each paean of praise that Linwood heaped on Stefan was another twist of the knife in my heart. Unaware of what he was doing, Linwood prattled on happily. Can you believe it was just 10 years ago that we saw him in a little club that held less than 500 people, and now he fills a coliseum? Wow, this must be a high life for you, and I can't think of a woman more gorgeous or more deserving of it than you, Carrie. Carrie, are you crying? Just a little. What's wrong? It wasn't his fault. It really wasn't. I pulled tissues from my pocket and mopped my face. Nothing. I'm just happy to talk to you. Have you set a date yet? Not yet, but sometime within the next 6 months. Is it okay if I send you an invitation? Yes, that's great. I'll need an address for you. I can write that down now if you'll give it to me. He was so bright and eager. How could I spoil the mood? It's 443 Rye-Crest Ridge Place, Beverly Hills, California, and the zip code is... As I was giving him the address, it dawned on me that I wasn't certain how long I would be living there. Linwood, why don't you just send the invitation to my mother's house? That way she will know the date and I can stay with her when I'm in town. Hey, that's a great idea. She's going to be very happy for you. I can't ask him for money, and I can't stop the tears. Okay, Linwood, I have to go now, but it was great talking to you. Baby, you've made my day. Just knowing that you're happy, safe, and healthy makes me feel good. You know, I'll always be your friend, no matter what. Thanks, and I'll tell Mom the good news. You take care. You take care, too. I love you. Oh, please, it's the phone again. Hello? Hi, Mom. Hi, honey. Your mother thought that she would call her favorite daughter and see how she is doing. I could hear the smile in her voice, like sunshine breaking through clouds. I'm fine. How come I haven't heard from you lately? I've been trying to handle something important. I swallowed. Important, right? My entire life had been yanked out from under me. You don't sound good. Is something wrong? How is my friend Stefan? Are you two having some problems? I know she can't help it. She's a mother. Yes, Mom, a little. I looked up at the dust on the chandelier and tried to keep the tears in my eyes. Carrie, what's the matter? Do you want to talk about it? No. You're not still upset because he hasn't left his wife yet? No, that's not it. Carrie, he's a good man and he loves you. He takes good care of you. Try to be just a little bit more patient with him. Listen to your mother. Good men like Stefan are hard to find, baby. You don't have to work. He got you a house, a nice home in California to live in. Mom, I have to go, I choked out. He'd even managed to fool my mother all these years, and she was nobody's fool. Oh, now, see, you don't want to listen to your mother. I loved her. I appreciated her concern, but I didn't need to hear how grateful I should be to someone who left me stranded with nowhere and nobody to turn to. I have to go. What's wrong with you? There's a lot of women out there working hard every day and then have to come home only to work more, and your mother is one of them. How you like that? She bursted out laughing. Mother, I said that I have to go. Okay, honey, you go ahead, she sighed. Get things ready for your man when he get home. Bye, Mom. Carrie, I love you, and I'm just teasing you, girl. I know, Mom, and I love you too. Bye. I hung up as the first sob gurgled up my throat. But there was no peace. The phone rang again. I grabbed a handful of tissues from the box on the coffee table and swiped at my eyes and nose. Hello, Miss Strong? Yes. This is Leonard Greenberg. It's 6:30 p.m. and before I left for the day, I thought I would call you to see if you made any progress on finding the funds to bring your account up to date before closing tomorrow. It is Friday, remember? No, not yet, but I've been trying. Please believe me. I'm sure you have. Of course, his voice said he was sure I hadn't. I can't find Mr. Harvey, and no one knows where he is. I coughed to cover another sob. Well, We can give you a little bit more time. Miss Strong, we see this a lot here at the firm where young, naive women fall in love with these celebrities and they are promised the world. Most of them move here with big dreams in hopes of making it in the modeling or acting business. Then they meet some ruthless director or actor that promised them big parts and puts them up in a house that no one in their family history has ever set foot in before. Then the celebrity goes out and finds another victim and they are stuck here in this godforsaken city. It's sad. It really is. I'll tell you what I'll do. You have until Monday morning, 10 a.m. After that, we are going to have to call in the loan on Tuesday. If the lender gets a buyer for the property, the buyer files the rights to take ownership at the courthouse. Once that's done, if someone is living on the property, an eviction takes place within 7 to 10 days after the sale. Maybe over the weekend you can come up with something. Please try, under the circumstances, to have a good weekend. Thank you, Mr. Greenberg. Goodbye. Once he hung up civilly instead of cutting me off. Where's the phone book? I remember Brenda telling me about these boutiques, retail shops, where celebrities go to sell their clothes for cash. She says sometimes they get thousands. Maybe I can sell some of my designer handbags, clothes, and shoes. The guest room closet is filled with dresses that still have the price tags hanging on them. The ones that I did wear, I only wore once for Stefan. Looking good from head to toe is what he's all about, and it was important to him that I look the same. All that shopping and money spent on Rodale Drive for Jimmy Choo and Prada, $800 to $1,200 shoes, Marc Jacobs, $1,000 to $7,000 handbags, Gucci and Versace, $1,500 and up designer dresses. Then there were the private fashion shows that he arranged for me, and he picked what he liked and let me choose anything I wanted, as long as it suited him. My God, when I think of the thousands of dollars that I spent on clothes, and I don't wear half of them, I'm drowning. This moment in my life, it feels like I'm going backwards. My father left my mother struggling, penniless with 2 kids. I remember how she bagged up all her clothes and went to a flea market to sell them for money just so we could eat. Maybe it's not the flea market and I don't have 2 kids, but the struggle is just the same. I'm taking all of this stuff, the shoes, handbags, clothes, and mink. At least it's dark outside. Hopefully none of my neighbors will notice me dragging plastic bags and boxes to the car. Every designer thing that I own is in my BMW. I can hardly see through the passenger or back window. I know this stuff would fit perfectly with room to spare in that old beat-up Volkswagen that I drove out here from Atlanta. Stefan had asked me so many times to let him leave it in some junkyard, but I wouldn't let him. That old car holds memories of our beginning. I was driving it when we first met, and I used to take him to gigs in the South. I had agreed that it was a bit of a neighborhood eyesore, so I moved it around the back in the 1-car garage. I kept it anyway and drove the 745 Beamer that he bought me, the one that was now months behind in payments. It took a decade of giving myself to him unconditionally whenever and however he wanted, to fill up these closets in less than 2 hours to empty them. When I look around at the open doors and empty spaces, then out in my car, I wonder if that's all 10 years of my life was worth. Under boutiques in the yellow pages of the phone book, I found a list of resale stores in the valley. That's where I'll start. Somewhere on Ventura Boulevard early tomorrow morning, September 30th, the last Friday. The nightmare is real. I dreamed that it was all a dream, but when I opened my eyes, I could see that it's not. My hands are shaky, so before I get dressed, I'll see if I can get a couple of eggs down and a glass of water for breakfast. I'm glad that I put those bags and boxes in the car last night instead of this morning. Brenda said that celebrities come into the store hauling bags of clothes and shoes to sell. While dressed in thousands of dollars worth of clothes, they stand at the counter in designer duds that scream money when that's what they're there to get. I'm not really up for acting today, but if that's what it takes to get the most for my things, I'm gonna look my best. My hands are shaking because I haven't eaten in 3 days. It's never taken an hour for me to put on makeup in my life. My mother says that eyes are the windows of your soul. She believes eyes tell the story of someone's joy and happiness, as well as their pain and sorrow. These dark circles underneath mine pretty much speak for themselves. Even 3 layers of foundation and powder can't hide my sadness. At least eye drops can rid up the network of red lines. If it weren't for the fact that I need to eat something to give me the strength to get through this, I wouldn't be forcing down these eggs. Okay, no Dolce & Gabbana suit is complete without a Fred, Leighton, whatever, 4-carat diamond ring in a decade. This ring is the only piece of shit jewelry that he's ever given me. I read once that the stone in his wife's engagement ring was twice the size of this one. Stupid me for not seeing the times that he was an obvious asshole. Memories of last night. Things aren't looking good. I can't eat or sleep. I'm taking pills to help me relax. Whenever I do sleep, it's on the floor in the corner of my room in the dark and alone. Daily, I pray to God to wake up from this nightmare. Was I so wrong to love him unconditionally? Am I being punished for loving him more than my child that never was? When was it that I became undesirable and unwanted? Wasn't I the good girl that lived in a make-believe world that consisted of only him, me, and my journals? This home is his castle, where he can find peace and pleasure. It's okay if he doesn't want his castle anymore. It's not okay that he's just tossed me aside like a used condom wrapper. I served my purpose. Now he's done with me. My real pain is the last night that we made love, or I made love and he had sex. He promised to come back and never did. I know he broke promises all the time, but he always provided for me, and I provided for him whenever he wanted me. Why won't he help me now? My sister works in sales. Before she leaves the house, she gets on her knees and prays every day. She says that she sells more whenever she prays. Today, I'm going to pray before I leave the house for my day to go well. Dear God, please let this day go well for me and help me to sell enough to get all the money that I need to pay these bills. Thank you and amen. Oh yes, God, will you let Stefan know that I still love him and that I'm sorry for whatever it was that I did to make him leave? Amen again. Lipstick? I need some lipstick on. Someone told me that lipstick makes a girl look fresh if she's tired. My hands have stopped shaking, so I'm ready to go. There's my keys, and I might as well take the liner bag out of the wastebasket. When I opened the front door, some papers that were wedged in behind the knob fell to the ground. I picked them up and shoved them into the plastic bag. Outside it was clear and bright. After locking my front door, I tossed the trash in a can under a window on the side of the house. When I turned around towards the driveway, I noticed that my car wasn't there. My car was gone. I started screaming it. My car is gone. My car is gone. Panic turned screams into shrieks. My things are in that car. Someone help me, please. My car is gone. Someone took my car and my things. As I ran up and down the driveway, I heard someone calling my name. Carrie? Carrie. Hello, Carrie? It was my neighbor, Rita Morgan, an elderly woman that lives in the next house over. I heard that she and her husband are the only one of only 3 original homeowners left in this neighborhood. She never visits, never speaks. The only time she comes out of her house is to watch her old blind dog poop in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon and at night. I crossed their well manicured lawn to get to her. She must know where my car is. I hiccuped and took several deep breaths as I hurried over. Hello, Carrie. My name is Rita Morgan. Her voice quivered with age and disapproval. Yes, Mrs. Morgan. Last night when I came outside to watch Mr. Belvedere do his business, I saw 2 men get out of a truck. They were in one of those trucks that pick up cars when they get stuck. Do you mean that they had a tow truck? Yes, that's what they had. One man opened the door of your car while the other one put chains under the back end and hoisted your car up in the air. They looked right at me. Her tone said they had some nerve. I knew there was something strange about them. How did you know? By the way they looked at me, as if what they were doing wasn't my business. And they both had big guns and holsters on their hips. One of them put something inside your door. What was it? I clasped and reclasped my hands. Get to the point. I have to go find my things. She shrugged. I don't know. It looked like paper. Is everything all right over there with you and your husband? What? Yes. Why do you ask? That was how little contact we had over the years. All she had to do was pick up a paper or a tabloid to know that I wasn't his wife. Oh, no reason, except this is a quiet neighborhood and We've never had things like this happen before. Really? Well, thank you, Mrs. Morgan. I trudged back through my neighbor's yard to my own, suddenly remembering the papers that had fallen out when I opened the door. I tossed them in a trash can with the other paper recyclables from the house. Adrenaline made my heart race. Without thinking, I backhandled the lid off the trash can. It bounced on the pavement, then wobbled on its rim to the hedge, finally lodging in some bushes. I reached down and grabbed the bag, shaking it open. It wasn't until I drew out the papers that I saw the blood. There was blood everywhere on the papers and around the trash can. The back of my hand was bleeding from a cut that I must have got when my hand hit the lid. Even though it was spotted with darker blood, I could see Repo stamped across the top in red letters. It was right there, printed on pieces of white and pink paper from the collection agency. There were more papers that had fallen out on the ground. When I grabbed the bag, I bent over, snatched at them, and stood up again. I must have moved too fast because I was dizzy. Papers? Just junk? I reached out to drop them back in the can when I saw the words West District of Beverly Hills Courthouse in print. This was the notice of sale dated August 31st, just like the attorney told me. But what was it doing back here? I didn't remember throwing this away. We don't use a lot of paper, and sometimes it took months to fill this can with stuff from the recycle pickup. How? Who? I've never seen this before. Let me see. I was home that day except for going to the gym, and that was the day that Stefan came home surprisingly early. Oh my God. Stefan? He knew. Stefan had known all along. No. Damn, why is this happening to me? Why? I didn't even realize I was screaming. I could only hear the words repeating themselves louder and louder in my head. I watched the sky and earth swing crazily to become one, then to come closer. My legs folded, and I collapsed onto the driveway, the notice papers clenched in my bleeding hand. I woke up in a cold hospital room, disoriented and not knowing where I was or whose bed I was in. Everything was so white. Had I died and this was heaven? Could I be the only one here? While my mind grappled with how I had gotten here, a nurse walked into the room. She saw me watching her and came over to the side of my bed smiling. Welcome back to the world. Can you tell me your name? Carrie? My name is Carrie Strong, I said. Where am I? You're in Los Angeles Memorial Hospital, and you've been here for 2 days, she explained, all the while tucking in my sheets, taking my pulse and frowning. I stared at the bed and the IV going into my arm, then looked at her bending over me. The name tag said Nurse Goodall, but why was I here? And why was she here? I clutched the sheets to my chest and cowered back against the pillows. She touched my arm gently. It's okay. My name is Albertine, and I'm your nurse. You came in here Friday, 2 days ago. You have been in and out of consciousness. Do you remember what happened? No. How did I get here? I understand you passed out in your yard. One of your neighbors heard your scream and saw you fall. They ran over, found you on the ground, and called the ambulance. Someone from the hospital admissions office is going to stop by. They have those pesky papers for you to sign your life over to them. She laughed. Still in a daze from all that was going on, I just smiled. Has anyone been to see me? I asked eagerly. Surely he would come. Her face was sad. No, she said softly. There's no one at all to call. I swallowed a lump in my throat and turned my head away from the pity in her eyes. I was discharged 3 days later after learning I was dehydrated and suffering from malnutrition. When the discharged nurse brought in my personal belongings, the 4-carat diamond ring wasn't among them. She claimed it wasn't even on my finger when I arrived by ambulance. At least I didn't have to pay the hospital bill. I wondered if in the greater scheme of things, I was supposed to be grateful that Stefan had paid my health insurance annually. No one bothered to bring my purse when they sent me to the hospital. Nothing. I wore my stained dress. Nurse Goodall paid my cab fare home. When I arrived at the house, there was a certified letter attached to my door with my neighbor, Mrs. Morgan, had signed for. Oh God. I was sure that she had taken the opportunity to grill the postman about Stefan's and my business. Did it already happen? Because I didn't get out of the hospital until Wednesday, the day after the foreclosing was scheduled. I wasn't sure. Oh, this is from the car dealership. What more could they want from me? Money? They have the car and everything I own in it. Surely they can't expect me to pay them another dime. I can't deal with this. All I can think about is going to bed and sleeping right now. I tossed and turned through the night and ended up just laying in the bed for a couple of days. I went from the bed to the bathroom and back. It wasn't until Sunday morning that I dragged myself out. I knew that if I didn't eat something, I would starve myself to death. The thought of giving Stefan's assistant the satisfaction of seeing that happen is what gave me the energy. When I did get up, I saw the certified envelope from the car dealer on the floor next to my bed. What could they want? I picked it up and ripped the envelope open. Oh my God, this is a notice telling me that I have 5 business days after the date above to retrieve the things that were in the car. If I fail to do so, they will auction them off. I stumbled out of bed to the phone in the living room. Was I too late? This letter came last Saturday when I was in the hospital. Please don't let it be too late. Shit. It says they are closed on Sunday. I'll call them first thing in the morning. Hello, this is Carrie Strong. Yes, what can I help you with? My car was repossessed and I received a notice from your company that says I have 5 days to retrieve my personal belongings from the car. I've been sick, so I didn't open the envelope until yesterday. When I read it, I would have called then, but it says that your office is closed on Sundays, so I had to wait until today to call. Well, everyone deserves a day off. Okay, give me your last name again, please. Strong. Carrie Strong. What's the date of the notice? It's dated Friday, September 30th. Well, if the notice is dated September 30th and it states that you have 5 days to pick up your belongings, then Friday, October 7th was the deadline. Hold on, Miss Strong. I believe your things were auctioned off Saturday. Yes, that's right. It was Saturday. You waited too long to contact us. I know, but you don't understand. I clutched the receiver with both hands. I've been in the hospital. We hold a monthly auction that dealers and collectors come to. It's open to the public also. And with so many people knowing about it, things don't stay around here long. No, please. Can I tell you what happened? Just let me tell you what happened. You see, I was in the hospital. Why wouldn't she listen? We tried to contact you by phone and we sent you a certified letter. By law, that's all we are required to do. And we got a receipt signed by Rita Morgan at your address. Please, could you check? Miss Strong, there is nothing we can do for you. What isn't auctioned off is donated to Goodwill. Her voice was firm. Maybe she dealt with this every day and it didn't bother her, but I didn't and I was desperate. Is there someone else that I can speak with? You can talk to whoever you want, but they will tell you the same thing I just told you. There is nothing we can do. You see, I was going to sell my things because I'm about to be evicted. I don't have any money. I understand, Miss Strong, but you didn't pay your car note either. I am sorry. Is there anything else that I can help you with? No, thank you. A few hours later on that Monday, I called Attorney Greenberg to get an update because I hadn't a clue if the house was sold last week. Carrie, I hadn't heard from you. I wasn't sure if you were still staying there. Then he said, yes, the property was sold on Tuesday, October 4th. Thank you for all your help, I said, and let the phone drop to the carpet with a thud. Dear Stefan, while I was in the hospital, I heard one of the local DJs say that the mother of Stefan, good friend and accountant, Lawton McDuffel, had passed away. Lawton and Stefan had been friends for over 20 years. He saw Stefan as his brother since he was an only child. I remember 3 years ago when Lawton moved his mother from Newark to LA because she was getting up in age and there wasn't anyone left back north to care for her. With the funeral and everything going on, it means Stefan must be in town right now for at least a couple of days. Why hadn't I thought about this before? His penthouse. All this time, I'd forgotten about that place. I should get in my old Volkswagen Golf and drive over there to try and see him. Nah, maybe not. If he's not there, security might not let me up to his floor, and if he is, he may not let me. I'll write him a letter and send it certified with a return receipt. That way I know he'll get it. Carrie Strong, 443 Rye-Crest Ridge Place, California. Stefan Harvell, 2849 Grashner Boulevard, Penthouse 34, LA, California, 97839. Dear Stefan, I hope you get this letter because there are a lot of things on my mind that I need to tell you about. Let me start by sharing an excerpt from my journal. This is important to me and to you because it says a lot about where we have been together. 10 years ago, I met Stefan Harvell in Atlanta, Georgia, while attending a comedy show. Today, he's one of America's most recognized comedians. He's got perfect hair, flamboyant clothes, and a hit movie he made with 4 other top funny men. I had no idea then that being with him would mean 10 years of joy, lies, infidelity, and pain. If you care at all, I was discharged from the hospital last week. The entire time that I lay in that bed, there wasn't a soul that visited me. When I came here for you, I left my friends and my family behind. Even after the doctor discharged me, there was no one there to take me home. I had to take a cab, and because I had no money, a nurse paid my fare. I was there because I was dehydrated and had malnutrition. That's what happens when you have no money to eat. I can't do this anymore. Oprah Winfrey says if you are going to lay down and be a doormat, don't be surprised if people walk over you. For the 10 years we've been lovers, you have never been honest with me. For every high point in your career, you dragged me to another emotional low. You got married and told me over and over that it was a mistake and you were getting a divorce. You called my mother to tell her that you loved her daughter. You promised to take care of me if I stayed with you in Los Angeles. You bought the house and the car and paid the mortgage and loans. And you lied again and again and again. Your promises have hurt me for the last time. I found the notice of foreclosure dated August 31st that you threw in the recycling can. The last night that you got up and left your condom wrappers on the nightstand, you said, I will get you the money. Now the house has been sold and I will be put out on the street. You asked me to change my life for you. I did everything you asked me and more when I aborted our child. The last few years, it seemed that you got more distant. And when you broke a promise, it was more like a deliberate attempt to hurt me than something you couldn't help. But I came back for more. And you took it. I have tried numerous times to reach you so I can get some answers. Why are you hiding behind secretaries and gophers? How can you mistreat someone that stayed with you through the bad times and the good and never asked anything more than your love? I loved you as you are, lies and all. My life is a mess. I have no money. Soon I'll have no home because Stefan Harvell took and took without giving back what he promised. I am tired. And I will not allow you to destroy my mind and life this way. Carrie, I'll pick up some envelopes from the corner drugstore. I can send it tomorrow by certified mail with the return signature receipt. That way I'll know he got it. Dear Carrie, I mailed it. Then I spent the whole day pacing. When I woke up the next morning, all that was on my mind was the letter. I had no regrets over sending it, but I was worried about whether he'd be there at his place to get it. He never took me to the penthouse before. He still had a home office, but whenever he was in LA, he stayed here. Late that afternoon, about 3 o'clock, I went out to buy groceries. I didn't have much money, and $28.75 is what it cost. I put some things back, which meant I ended up carrying only one bag out of the store, and it wasn't even full. I hadn't slept well since I got out the hospital, so I stopped by the drugstore to pick up something. When I arrived back home, grocery bag in hand, I noticed something that looked like an envelope sticking out from underneath the doormat. I knelt down to pick it up. At first it didn't register in my mind, but once I got inside, I realized what it was. The same envelope that I sent to Stefan. The letter had been opened and now has something else stuck in it. If Stefan had stopped by, why would he leave this outside the door? Could it be the money that he promised to give me? I fumbled the contents out of the envelope. It was the letter that I sent to him with a handwritten message attached on a post-it note. Miss Strong, you will not be hearing from my husband. So whatever your next move is, feel absolutely free to make it. It was signed, Mrs. Marlene Harvey. I dropped the letter, and her note separated itself, fluttering to the floor alone. She came to my house. She knows. If she didn't know before, she knows now. I was frightened because I wasn't sure what she might do. I don't feel safe here, but where can I go? I pounded my pillow all through the dark hours of the night, over and over in an endless loop. I questioned Stefan, questioned myself, and questioned how we had come to this. How could you give her the letter? And if you didn't, what the hell is she doing in town there with you? I saw how it worked out now. For your family, friends, and whomever you want to put on a wholesome appearance for. Your wife is good enough to be by your side. Remember when I asked if your wife satisfied you sexually? You said you didn't feel right sharing personal information about her. Why did I bother to ask you when I never got a straight answer to anything? Even when I got a response, I never knew if I could believe you or not. You would lie even when the truth would do. I wonder if you manipulated your wife like you manipulated me. Was she naive? Or did she really know about you and other women? Did the two of you have a just don't bring it home understanding? That's what they do here in Hollywood. But you married her long before you hit the big time. You married her when you were telling me that I was the center of your universe and you were my whole world. For 10 years, my own life took second place to loving Stefan Harvey. I shied away from acknowledging how shallow our relationship really was, even when the proof was right there in my face. He told me he loved me, and I believed him. Despite the lies that became so frequent, it seemed they were an integral part of our lives together. But I accepted those lies, and I had nobody else to blame but myself. In the beginning, I did everything in my power to support Stefan on his way to success as a comedian and actor. I had to be there to do the things he needed in his private life. He taught me to think that way by making sure that I knew my place. It was like loving him was a privilege that could be lost if I didn't love him just the way he wanted. 2 years into the relationship, I sacrificed a child I wanted because it wasn't the right time for him. I did it for the love of my man, but the grief was mine alone. My mother often questions how she yearns for grandchildren from me. Whenever she brings it up, it drives the pain a little deeper. When I was little, Mom told me, Carrie, be careful what you wish for. I worked and wished for Stefan's stardom and success so he could continue to love me. Today, Stefan has fortune and fame, but I never dreamt that he could or would marry another woman and make her his queen. Although he speaks humbly of how he couldn't have made it without his wife's support, it was me who stayed by his side, used, ignored, then abandoned. Doomsday. Have you ever dreamt someone was standing over your bed watching while you slept? I have, but this time it wasn't a dream. I took a deep breath, then I screamed. My vision was blurry, but I could see the silhouette of someone at the foot of my bed. My black jackknife upped its own accord, scrunching back in the bed until I pressed against the headboard. With the blanket pulled up underneath my chin, I screamed over and over again. Ma'am, are you Miss Strong? Ma'am, please. We're with the sheriff's department. Still disoriented, I croaked. Who? What? How did you get in here? There were so many people, or was it my imagination? Ma'am, first, can you answer the question? Are you Miss Strong? He glanced down at his clipboard. It says that a Miss Strong, a Carrie Strong, lives here. Tears raining down my cheeks. I pressed the blanket closer to catch them. I'm Carrie. Why are you here? Well, ma'am, I'm going to answer that for you in a moment, but first we need to have you calm down. Have you been taking any medication? Are you on anything? Do you need any medical help? I felt like his words were poking, and I wanted it to stop. No, I don't think so, but I did just get out of the hospital. For what, ma'am? Why were you in the hospital? I fainted from a cut on my hand. I fumbled back through the fog of my nightmare, and I was dehydrated and hungry. So you were released? Did the doctor release you? His pen scratched on the clipboard. Why was it so loud? Yes. When were you released, ma'am? 2 or 3 days, maybe a week ago. I really don't remember. 2 or 3 days? Ma'am, which one is it? You've been sleeping since you got home? No, I don't think so, but I wasn't really sure anymore. I just haven't kept with the days. Let's get those paramedics in to take a look at her. He spoke with the radio receiver that was clipped to his uniform. I'm sorry if we frightened you, he turned back to me, but we've been outside knocking on your doors, both front and back, for about 20 minutes. Then the officers decided to try looking through the windows, and that's when we saw someone in the bed that wasn't moving. With a jerk of his head, he addressed the other two men in the room. Why don't you boys step out and allow the medics to get in here and check her out? No, I'm okay. I know, Miss Strong, but it's just a precaution. Will you tell me first why you are here? I pulled the blanket up around my shoulders and bit the edge of it. In just a second, ma'am. Do you think you're okay to dress yourself? Yes. Well, why don't you do that, and then these guys are going to take a look at you. He shooed the paramedics away from the door and closed it behind him as he left. My hands trembled so bad, I couldn't get my legs through my panties. Forgot a bra. I held pants against the bed and slid into them. The sweater was harder. I got trapped inside, looking for a way out to the neck, and panicked. Still crying and trembling, I opened the bedroom door. When the paramedics were done with me, the officer took me into the kitchen and told me why they were there. Ma'am, we're here to evict you from the property. I broke down right there. I would have hit the floor if he hadn't pushed the chair under me in time. Not today. Not today. This is not happening to me today. I tried to deny it, but there was no way out when a 6-foot sheriff in uniform is standing in front of you holding the papers. Are you sure you have to do it now? Yes, ma'am. This property was foreclosed on the 4th of this month. How did you get inside the house? Well, for an eviction, the court sent the locksmith to change the locks. When we saw you lying on a bed like that, he opened the door for us. A Mr. Stefan Harvey was sent notification by certified mail, so we have to proceed with the eviction. Now, Miss Strong, I'm going to allow you a few minutes to gather some things, whatever you can carry in your hands, because I can't give you time to move furniture or things like that. These folks are here to empty out this house, and then I'm going to padlock the door. What about my stuff? The furniture, dishes, my clothes, all these things. Are they going to auction them off? No, ma'am. In most cases, that only happens when it's a federal government tax lien. It's called taking an assessment of assets. But in your case, ma'am, this warrant is only for possession of property. There's someone that I need to call. I promise you, just 2 minutes. Can you ask everyone to wait? I didn't like to beg, but his face and voice were kind. Okay, ma'am. You go ahead and make your call. I wobbled into the living room, the sheriff trailing discreetly behind me. My head echoed the pounding of my heart as I waited for the phone to stop. The number you have reached is no longer a working number. Let me try again. I'm nervous and maybe I got the wrong number by mistake. He nodded and stayed where he was by the door. The number you have reached is no longer a working number. Without thinking, I threw the cordless phone across the room, just missing the sheriff's shoulder. He stepped aside and looked at me expectantly. I don't know why he would do this to me, I screamed. What did I do? He won't even return my calls and tell me what I did wrong. Why? 2 of the movers were now standing in the doorway behind the sheriff, as if they didn't want to be the ones to be asked for that answer. They put their heads down and left the room. None of them wanted to get involved, and who would blame them? The sheriff and the rest were there to do their jobs. I heard one of them say, "We can give you 15 minutes to gather a few things." "Thank you," I whispered. It wasn't that the anger was gone. I was just too tired to fight anymore, and they weren't the ones responsible for this anyhow. A last bitter look back. I didn't know that night would be our last time together, but you did. After making love over and over again, you got up out of our bed and never returned. I will never forget those few hours. You weren't extremely gentle or pleasing. That's not why they were memorable. It's because that was the last time that you lied to me. The mortgage was due on our 2-bedroom house and you promised to return with the payment. You never came back. I never saw you in person again. Things got real bad for me, but you know this. Because you let the house foreclose while I was still living in it. And on the day it foreclosed, you had your cell phone number changed. You had your people lie and say you weren't available. You never gave a thought to how I would find shelter or food with no family or friends in LA. My entire life revolved around you, being there when you wanted, being what you wanted, whenever and whenever you wanted. I talked to you or about you. My thoughts were of you and for your career. The few other women you allowed me to associate with were the Hollywood kind, all fluff with no substance. My only confidant was my savior, my journal. When the house was taken, I was put out on the streets with one medium suitcase crammed full of underwear and a change of clothes. In a hurry, I stuffed personal belongings, my favorite photograph of mom, a wallet with $158.59, toothbrush, comb, and my journals, in an oversized purse. I left just like I rode in, driving my Volkswagen Golf. But this time, there would be no shipment of furniture and things following me. It was gone, all gone. I sat across from the house in my Golf with 15 minutes worth of packing from 10 years of living with Stefan Harvey. A deputy got out of his car. The sheriff that told me that they were there to evict me is still inside with the court-appointed locksmith and movers. It looks like they're clearing out the front living room first. It's unthinkable that anyone would sit a $10,000 hand-rubbed leather couch out on the curb. I remember when I saw it in an issue of LA Homestyle magazine and had to have the set. I went down to the store and they arranged to have one custom made just for our home. It looks much larger than it really is from here. Oh yeah, they're moving right along. The chest and china cabinet were my first purchases for the house. The movers must be inside with their shredded paper and bubble wrap, packing up the Flora Danica china, St. Louis crystal, and flatware. When I bought those pieces, I hoped that a daughter of mine would inherit them. This is so unfair. My head turns back and forth in denial while at the same time accepting that 3 men in black t-shirts and jeans are taking what's left of my life, piece by piece. Look, Stefan, there's the table that always had a hot meal waiting for you when you got home. I never told you that as soon as I heard your keys in the door, I rush around and light all the candles in the room to set the right mood. Once Oprah had a guest that showed us how to make every house a castle. I followed his direction to the letter, trying to make sure things were perfect for you. You never had to ask me twice for anything. That damn Oprah Winfrey show, ain't it funny? You said if women keep listening to Oprah, they're going to wind up without a man. And here I am, without one. I went to 4 different mattress stores before special ordering that Chatham Wells. It was advertised as guaranteed to stay firm for an eternity. An eternity. That's how long I thought our love would last. So I ordered it. I thought we would make love on that mattress for the rest of our lives while conceiving babies. I covered it with the best frette, whatever, bedding. Now, seeing it dragged out to the street, it looks like the hundreds of other mattresses where I laid on my back for you. Every time and however you wanted to have me, I laid down and opened wide for you. Someone is tapping on my passenger door. It's my neighbor from across the street and down a few doors. What does she want? I can't hear her through the window. She sure is persistent. Whatever it is, I'm sure I don't want to hear it. But it don't look like she's going away. I guess I can lean over and roll down the window just a little. Hello? I'm not sure if you know who I am, but my name is Sandra. I'm your neighbor. I live 2 houses down in that White House. She pointed behind her, the sun flashing off the 5 brilliant carats of her wedding band and winking on the sizable shoulder stones. Yes, I know who you are. My name is Carrie. Is there something that I can help you with? Because I don't mean to be rude, but I don't really feel like talking right now. I can understand that, Carrie, but I just wanted to see if you needed anything and if you were okay. She never once glanced across the street to let me know that she knew how my life was being dismantled and put on display. Thanks for asking. I'm okay. I'm waiting for someone. I should be a good liar by now with Stefan as a model. Are you sure? You're more than welcome to use the phone or come inside and sit for a while. No, I'm okay. She put out a hand as if she were going to speak again, then withdrew from the window and walked away. As she walked down the street, 3 more neighbors came out to watch the show. I wish I had gotten to know her and her husband. They seem like really nice people. Then maybe I have accepted her offer. But for now, I just wanted to be alone. It was too late to be making friends. Here, I was grateful for small favors, though. It had been her husband that heard me screaming before I passed out and called 911 when he found me in the driveway. Oh, look, one of them cracked the glass top of the coffee table and the glass is broken on one of the end tables, too. The mover was laughing when he attempted to shove my table onto the curb and it landed on the street. Here she comes again. Sandra. This time she came around to the driver's window. Hi, Carrie. I know that you said that you didn't want anything, but I thought maybe a cold bottle of water. Yes, thank you. I guess water would be fine. My arm was resting on the edge of the roll-down window. Sandra reached over and placed her hand over my hand and squeezed gently. Are you sure you wouldn't like to come in and use the phone? I hesitated for a minute. I wondered if I did go inside and come back out, would this all be a dream? I swallowed the lump in my throat, and as tears made my vision swim, I looked up. No, I'm fine, but thank you. I'm not sure exactly how long after Sandra brought me some water, they all came out of the house together. By the way, the sun had gone down in the sky. It must have been 3 or 4 hours. I lost track of time, somehow. The sheriff and locksmith are standing at the door discussing something and writing on their clipboards. The 3 movers got into one car. The truck had already left. Suddenly, the sheriff slams the door, puts a key in the lock, and turns it. After he finished posting a bright orange sticker on the front door, they lingered on the front lawn for another 10 minutes, I guess, and then got in their cars and drove off, leaving the remnants of my life spilling out of the boxes at the curb. What? I must have dozed off again. Damn, it's hard to stretch in the Volkswagen. What do you say, Mickey? I tapped at my watch. It's the morning after. Sitting behind the wheel all night hurts. My back is numb in the middle and I have to pee. I can't believe that I've stayed here in this car all night, but it's not like I had any place to go. I can't get a room at a Hotel Bel Air with only $158 and some change. I wonder if Sandra and her husband are up at 6:30 in the morning. Right now, I would really like to clean my face, brush my teeth, and change my undergarments. I can't believe how last night some of my neighbors from down the street and a few blocks over stopped and went through my things. Nobody cared if I was sitting in my car across the street. They got out of their cars and scavenged through the boxes while I was watching them. Some of them picked out a few items, then got in their cars and drove off. This one couple returned with a small truck and struggled to get the mattress on the back. There's Mrs. Morgan with her dog, standing outside with her back to me. I'd asked her if I can come in and use the bathroom, but she hasn't even acknowledged that I'm out here. She wouldn't help anyway, because she probably thinks I've lowered the tone of her precious neighborhood. There's a few things left out on the curb that I could use, but I don't have a truck. And even if I did, I don't have a home to take them to. I have to find a bathroom now or I'm going to pee on myself. The Volkswagen started right up and I pulled out into the street. As I drove off, I looked in the rearview mirror. Mrs. Morgan was studiously looking the other way. There, a Jack in the Box. I'll just stop and use the bathroom to wash up. I hadn't eaten anything since yesterday and I was starving. So I ordered some hash browns, a cup of water, and sat down to write in my journal. Then I drove around LA. Every once in a while I'd park. I had to. There wasn't much gas in the tank. It was late that day when I realized I had left my cell phone in the bathroom. So I went back, hoping that someone had turned it in to one of the Jack in the Box waiters. I went directly to the cashier. Pardon me, did anyone turn in a cell phone today that was left in the ladies' bathroom? Nah, the girl shook her head, shoving the pencil back in the mass of the tight black curls over her ears. No one gave us anything. Are you sure that you left it in the bathroom? Yes. Nothing's been turned in since I've been here, and I'm pulling a 12-hour shift. She chewed on the fingernail and frowned, then grabbed the pencil back out of the bird's nest of hair, and holding an order pad in her hand, she said, "Write your name and number on here, if you like, and I'll give it to the shift manager. If someone brings it back, they'll call you." I told her I'd drop back in and check later. There wasn't a number to give her because I didn't have any place for her to call me. I couldn't call my own phone number and beg them to bring it back because the battery was dead. I didn't have any place to charge it. My days are pretty much the same now. I walk around near the shops, sometimes just circling the block or to avoid the heat outside, and for a change, I stop at the Beverly Hills Library on La Pierre. It's cool, quiet, and the librarian who works in the reading room seems to be really nice. She's a middle-aged Caucasian woman in her late 40s or early 50s who isn't what you call attractive or sexy, but looks well kept for her age. She never says anything, but sometimes I find her watching me with a look that questions what I'm really doing there. While in the library, I read or write daily installments in my journal. I found peace in the quiet atmosphere of the library and release in putting my thoughts down on paper. The combination is balm to a bruised soul, and time escapes me. Before I realize it, the speakers above breathe out the closing announcement. At night, I drive around, sometimes stopping in 24-hour cafes like the Waffle House or International House of Pancakes and order 2 pieces of toast. While I'm there, I read, write, or watch people. I sit there until I can no longer keep my eyes open. When that happens, I find a place to park, like on the street of a safe subdivision or a crowded motel parking lot where an extra car won't be noticed. I climb between the seats to the back of my car and curl up under a blanket that I found in the dumpster of a motel. It's a far cry from my bedding, but it keeps me warm. Some motels had lobby bathrooms that I used to clean up and wash my panties so they would dry by morning. There's no such thing for me as a good night's sleep. So I lay there, praying for the morning light, alone and nowhere to go. Money is getting low. I only have $93.62 left, and with the gas prices in LA, this won't last past a week. Guess it's a good thing that I don't need to eat every day. My mother used to tell me that God bends the back to the burden, but I must be walking hunched over by now. It's been 2 weeks, and I don't think I can take another day being homeless. I'm out here in Los Angeles alone, without family or any real friends. I don't want my mother to find out Stefan had me put out on the streets when someone calls and tell her that my body was found raped or cut up. It would kill her. I should have called her before this. So this part of the book is when Terry calls her mother Colette and gives her mother a lie and tell her that she's on vacation with Stefan. Her mother can hear in her voice that something is wrong, but Terry tells her that everything is fine. So now we're going to move on to the next part of the book. Every single parking spot in front of the library is taken. I'll have to circle the block and see if I can find something within walking distance. I can't believe that the closest spot that I would find to park is 2 blocks away in front of this house. What does that sign say? No parking after 6 p.m. without a permit. Towing is enforced. That gives me about 45 minutes. I should be okay. I don't need another ticket. I already have 3 so far that I haven't paid. Exhausted from the heat, I only meant to lay my head down for a second, but it was so quiet at the back of the stacks and so cool. Crossed arms made a better pillow than my purse in the car. I was startled awake by the librarian tapping on my shoulder. I had fallen asleep. Confused, I look around at her hand still on my shoulder. She said, "I'm sorry, but the library is closed now." Not quite coherent yet, I glanced toward the desk and noticed that we were the only 2 left in the room. Quickly, I gathered my things, reading materials and journals. "Are you a writer?" she asked curiously. As we walked up the aisle, her pushing the cart of returned books for reshelving before she left for the evening. I didn't realize the question was directed at me until I glanced at her face. She was looking at me with the same concern that was evident whenever I caught her watching me. "No, I'm not a writer," I answered, denying the journals that I was stuffing in my big tote bag. If the library was closed, I knew that meant I had overstayed the parking time. The librarian put down 2 return books and took a set of keys from the service desk. I followed her to the large double doors at the front. She unlocked one, pushing it open for me, and smiled. Good night then. I walked out into the night without even saying thanks. The door clunked shut behind me and the lock snapped into place. As it turned out later, in all the rush to leave, I dropped one of my journals. Later that night when the librarian went back to the book cart, she found it propped against a table leg where it had fallen. I dashed down the street as fast as I could to my car. Thank God my car didn't get towed. I opened the driver's side door and got in, tossing my bag over the seat behind me. I started the car, turning the steering wheel in the direction of the street, but it wouldn't move. It seemed to be locked or stuck. The car engine was running, but when I put it into gear, it wouldn't move at all. Something caught my eye on the passenger side of the windshield. A note. A flyer? It was folded and stuck under the wiper, so I got out to retrieve it. The County of Los Angeles was notifying whomever it concerned to call regarding the $85 fee to remove their boot off the wheel. My eyes dropped to the tire and the big yellow steel lock that almost covered it. They couldn't. I couldn't. Can't breathe. Can't think. I woke up in the back seat of my car not knowing how or when I got there. I look around and wonder how much time had passed. Then I remember feeling faint after reading the note that said it would cost $85 to have the boot taken off my tire. I don't have the money and I'm frightened. I crawled back under the blanket. In the morning, voices and the sound of cars passing by wake me up. Morning is here, and there's not a cloud to be seen. Other than the beauty of the day, nothing has changed. There's a cafe on the corner at the end of this block. Hopefully they have a phone that I can use to call someone for help. I don't know who yet. I have to think. There's a waitress wiping down table number 4 next to a large window that looked out on the street. Hello, could you please give me the time? I stood in the doorway exposed to the view of the waitress and 2 elderly men with their heads down over breakfast. It smelled good even from here. Her glance swept me from head to toe, then her lip curled as if she smelled something bad. It's 8:17, she said grudgingly. Thank you, I said, and with head held high, I walked towards the bathroom door. I locked it behind me so no one could come in while I was naked and washing up in the sink. Only cold water came out of the rusty faucet, but I was getting used to subhuman conditions in public restrooms. When I came out of the bathroom about 10 minutes later, there were 2 women waiting to go in. They glared at me, then looked pointedly at their watches. There's a payphone on the wall across the room that no one is using. I need help and I have to ask someone, but the person that I thought to ask refused. So I called Stefan's assistant for help and was told that his wife had instructed her not to take my calls. When she said that, I collapsed right there in the cafe, hitting my head on the counter behind me as I fell. When I came to, I was sitting up in the chair in the cafe manager's office with the cold dish towel across my forehead. I felt pressure on my right shoulder and a deep man's voice said, "Miss, are you okay? Do you want us to call someone to help you?" No, I'm okay, I said. The pressure lifted as he took his hand away and moved around in front of me. My eyes were tearing and I couldn't really see what he looked like. Embarrassed and needing to cry, I quickly gathered myself together, expressed my gratitude, and left the cafe. As soon as the door swung shut behind me, the tears overflowed. Now Stefan was getting his wife to do the dirty work. All I could think about was how much I loved this man and how I kept our relationship a secret and allowed him to take a wife and family public. I walked blindly towards where I parked and was close to the end of the next corner before realizing I somehow passed the car. So I turned around and slowly walked back. Now I was almost back to the corner with the cafe. Then I realized I hadn't gone past it. The car was gone. A woman walked up to me while I stared at the vacant space. She said, "Excuse me, are you looking for the white older model car that was parked here last night?" Yes, I was. Was this another Mrs. Morgan watching my car being towed away? What happened to it? Well, I didn't know who the car belonged to. When I came home yesterday, I saw the boot on the tire. We have a problem with people who don't have permits parking on this block. When the residents come home, there's no space for our cars. Quite often, people find they have a lock on the tire and just walk off. Then it stays here for days. When I got up this morning and saw the car still sitting there with no one around, listen, I broke in. My boyfriend of 10 years asked me to move out here and promised to take care of me. Then he just left. He let the house go into foreclosure while I was still in it, so I've been living in my car trying my best to survive on the streets with $63 left now. I just left the car for a second. I went to the cafe on the corner and called my ex's assistant and asked for help, but she was told not to help me. I'm out here in this city all alone and I don't know how much more I can take or what else I can do. Please tell me where my car is. The words tumbled out of my mouth as fast as I could say them. I didn't know it was possible to condense so much misery into a few sentences. Oh dear. She reached up and took my hands. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were out here. When I got up this morning and looked out of my window, I saw the car was still here. I called the county to come and tow it away. They just left a few minutes before I saw you standing out here. That's why I came out, because I thought, my God, I hope that wasn't that woman's car. Would you like to come inside? Why don't you come in? I think there are some calls that I can make to help you. Come on, she coaxed. At least join me for lunch. I had no place to go. No friends, no real money that could guarantee me a nice room for a few hours of shelter, not even a car to crawl in and hide under a blanket. I was hungry too. Plus, there was nothing about her to cause me to feel uncomfortable, other than the fact that we were strangers and she had invited me into her home. She reminded me of that famous First Lady, Jackie Kennedy, but with much more of a common touch. For some reason, her company felt familiar, so I accepted. Once I was inside the house, I felt very comfortable. It was modestly decorated with lots of family portraits lining the mantel, walls, and top of the piano. Would you like to take a shower, she asked, as I followed her down a sunlit hallway. Her hand pushed a door open, and I glimpsed an old-fashioned clawfoot tub. There's plenty of soap and towels, so help yourself. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. I dragged my eyes from the tub. Oh, yes, my name is Carrie. Carrie Strong? Well, Carrie, it is a pleasure to meet you. She extended a hand and I took it briefly. My name is Margaret Ann McDowell. Now you look to be about my size. Let me see if I can find something comfortable in my closet for you to wear. What size are your shoes? Her attitude was forthright and her voice brisk. She moved ahead gently, bulldozing any hesitation before her. Reluctantly, I answered, Size 7? Perfect. I wear a size 8, so they might be a little roomy, but what we are going for here is comfort. Lunch will be a grilled chicken salad with spinach greens. Do you like salads, or would you like to go out for something else? We can talk wherever we eat. No, whatever you decide to serve is fine. Okay then, grilled chicken salad it is. The food will be on the table when you're finished. Just come on out to the kitchen. That's where I'll be. The entire time she was talking, I couldn't help but wonder why she was helping. What was I to her? I had been in Hollywood too long. I didn't recognize common kindness when I saw it. After I finished my bath and drying my hair and putting the towels in the hamper, I heard knocking and a voice at the door. Carrie, I have a few things that I thought you might like to change into. I moved the chair, then cracked the door slowly and opened it just enough to fit the clothes through. Thank you very much, I said, and closed the door. I moved the chair, then cracked the door slowly and opened it just enough to fit the clothes through. Thank you very much, I said, and closed the door. The linen pants were a little long, but fit okay with the cuffs turned up. The dark green on them went well with the soft knit pullover embroidered with tiny flowers. It looked like a spring garden. The clothes were a little loose, but I felt fresh and clean. I rolled my smelly clothes into a ball and left them on the hamper, then went looking for the kitchen. We sat down to a beautiful large lettuce salad with bottled sparkling water to drink. The rolls in the basket were a rich golden brown and obviously right out of the oven. It was hard to keep my mouth from watering as I buttered one. Listen, Carrie, I hope you don't mind, but while you were in the shower, I took the liberty of calling a women's shelter that my church runs. Now, it's not the type you think, she hurried on as I stopped eating to stare at her. They have divorced mothers, wives, and women that have stories of abandonment similar to yours. They teach technical, science, computer, and business courses and offer a place to live. There's room and board until you complete training to help you support yourself for the future. They also assist you with finding a job, and once you are financially independent, They assist you with finding a place to live. I know staying at a shelter sounds scary at first, but trust me, it's nice and I don't think sleeping in your car is safe. Margaret smiled. I feel really bad about what I did, calling them to pick up your car. Will you let me do this for you? Someone would help me after all. Someone cared. My composure wobbled a little, but was good with a good meal and clean clothes. I replied, yes, thank you, but I don't have much money. Everything has been taken care of. I'm an officer of the board of directors for the shelter. After we eat, I'll take you there. I was at the shelter for almost a week before I wrote anything in my journal. I guess Margaret felt so guilty for having my car towed that she paid for the fee. She also paid my outstanding tickets and had the car delivered to me at the shelter. I felt renewed and went digging through my bag so I can start writing again. There was one journal missing. I searched the whole inside of the car, but I just couldn't find it. Disappointed, I counted it as a loss. On weekends, some of the ladies at the shelter go home to see their families. Since I didn't have any family, I decided to go to the library and catch up on my journal's entries. When I walked in, I was greeted by the same librarian that was always watching me. She motioned me to join her behind the desk, holding up what looked like my journal in her hand. Hello, my name is Betty Siegel, and I've been looking for you, she said. This was left behind the last time you were here. That's where it was. Thank you, I cried. I reached for it, but she wouldn't let go. Would you come back into the office so we can talk? I dropped my hand and followed her into the same small office marked private. She shut the door and sat down at the end of a small couch, indicating that I should join her there. When you didn't return within a week or so, I opened the book thinking maybe I can find your contact information and could return it to you. Remember, I asked you the last time you were here if you were a writer and you said no. Can you tell me the name of who did write these fictional stories? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but in considering my life over the last 10 years, it was hardly surprising that she thought it was fiction. Some writer didn't write what's in that book, nor is it fiction. That's one of my journals. I write in them every day. Your journals? Are you Carrie? Yes, it's my daily trials, I guess you can call them. I've written in a journal for over 10 years. I started writing back when I was a flight attendant. Ever since I heard Oprah Winfrey say, keeping a diary helps us see where we've been and where we are going. I've been reading them over, and sometimes I can't believe where I've been or how low I've been. But I'm back now. I don't know where I'm going, but I'll get there. Well, Carrie, if hearing what I have to say upsets you, I apologize in advance for reading what I guess were really private thoughts. But the words on the first page intrigued me so much that I couldn't stop reading until I finished the entire book. My brother-in-law is the CEO of the largest publishing company in New York. I sent the pages to him, and he is very interested in speaking to the writer and finding out if they have any more material. Their list includes many of today's bestsellers. Trust me, he's highly respected in the publishing industry. She must have seen the hesitation on my face. How about this? I'll see if he is willing to arrange for you to fly to New York to meet with him in person, and that way you guys can talk face to face. How about that? Do you like that suggestion better? It was a generous offer, and she seemed genuinely glad to help. I had been looking for it so long, I didn't recognize it when it was being offered. I guess so, but I would like to take someone with me. She's a friend, and her name is Margaret Ann McDowell. Carrie, if you agreed to meet with him, taking someone with you would not be a problem. Betty laid a pen and notepad on the couch between us. Would you write down your contact number so we can stay in touch? And please, here, take one of my cards. I'll call you with the arrangements. The next week, we flew to New York for the meeting. Mel Kovacs took the journals to his marketing people. The next thing I knew, I was signing a contract, and his office booked me into a hotel where I could be within commuting distance to work with their editors. In a few short weeks, my book was finished. Then came the long process of editing and having their legal department vetting it for the content. Then there was the matter of a title. I knew that the publisher had a lot of input. I thought a long time about how to best say what the hell my life had been for the last 10 years. There is no denying that men will lie when the truth will do. When I took the sheet in with the proposed title, Mel took one look and scrawled approved across the page. The first thing that I thought about when I walked out of Mel's office holding a book contract was Oprah. One day I will be sitting on her couch telling my life story about how I, like her, survived after loving an untruthful, hypocritical, cheating, deceitful man. The truth will do. Dear Stefan, it was exhausting trying to live up to your expectations. I accepted you with all your faults, inside and out. I never mentioned your bad hygiene and how using a little soap and water before you got into bed or splashing on a dash of cologne would have been nice. No, I didn't talk about it because I figured you didn't know any better. I didn't want to embarrass you, even though the sight of your sweaty body nauseated me. So I came up with those creative bath games to get you in the tub. Now, who is the real actor? I knew you were benefiting from those games, but then my rent needed paying. And when a girl's rent needs to be paid, she is willing to do almost anything except maybe passing out from funk. Somewhere along the way, you forgot your beginnings. At your first performance, I saw you walk off stage. What I didn't realize then was that your whole life was a performance. I watched you say things that hurt people you call friend, even the ones that stood up for you, as well as the ones that paved the way. But you always had a way of coming out of things smiling because you always denied responsibility. You decided how things would be, both on and off stage. And when they didn't go the way you wanted, you laid the blame wherever you could. The truth would have made you look bad, and that wasn't part of your plan. What part of your plan was I, Stefan? You took my life over, and that was partly my fault. I let you do it. I could have said no. I could have taken ownership of my choices, but instead, I let my love for you be the only thing that mattered. So when I surrendered control of who I was to you, I did it out of my own free will. But after that, you took ownership of my will and used it to satisfy your physical need and your ego. As the years went on, I became more and more unhappy. Like a child that defies their parent, I would intentionally wear something that I knew you wouldn't like. You had no right to dictate what I should wear. That was wrong. What pleased you did not always please me. But because my world was centered around your satisfaction, I would go and change. Sometimes I would just be comfortable, but that wasn't an option that you allowed me to exercise. I can't count the number of times I wanted to say I didn't like what you were wearing. Instead, I let you think you were the flamboyant king of fashion. Let's be real. When you have fame, it's easy to surround yourself with yes people. They tell you what you want to hear, and God help me, I was one of them for 10 years. Truth is difficult to find, even in a mirror, because when you want to see Mr. Cool, you aren't going to notice that you're really seeing someone that's either looks like a pimp or a mobster from a bad gangster movie. You didn't need all that flashy stuff to make you look fine, man. You were fine enough without it, and it's not going to make anyone like you any better. I don't think they care if you were butt naked. I know I didn't. When I look back at our relationship, I realized that in a bizarre way, you really did love me. You valued me for what I stood for, available sex, and ego massaging 24/7. Those things were important to you, so I was important. I think that's the only kind of love you understood, fulfillment of your own needs. When someone did that, you loved them. Indirectly, I told you that it was good enough. When did the last get to be too much for you? Did you get tired of lying to your wife and to me and decide to toss a coin and oops, I lost? You left me with nothing in every sense of the word. I had no home, no friends, no money, and no love. You walked out on me saying you'd be back tomorrow, and I never saw you again. Is that when you let your wife start dictating how things would be from now on? Was she that pissed when she found out about me that she threatened to leave and take the children? I must say, you put on a pretty good front. All those stories in the tabloids about your business savvy and all the investments you made. You're still making out like you're the king. Only now you're lying to yourself. I made an investment too. 10 years of my life. Only my stock crashed and was wiped out. How about your wife, Stefan? She's really something, isn't she? The woman finds out that you've had a piece on the side, not to mention the other bits of fluff that followed you from the stage to the hotel rooms. And she's still there beside you, smiling sweetly at everyone in the line at the supermarket checkouts. I tip my hat to her. I really do. She chose to stay with you the same way I did. For love? Hard to say. But she's in charge of every decision she makes about her life because she knows you for the liar you are. I told her when I told the rest of the world. She knew who I meant, even when others didn't. You know, the librarian that found my journal thought the fictional storylines showed intensity, devotion, and passion. By her standards, the writer was well-spoken and showed the talent to become a successful fiction writer. But what she didn't know then was that fiction was reality, and that reality had been my nightmare for 10 long years. Dear Journal, 2005. This will be my last entry. I'm whole again, and I don't need you for survival anymore. Our time together was filled with sadness and sorrow, but there was joy and gladness too. I wanted to be happy with the situation I had placed myself in, so I was. We had a 10-year relationship during which your wife didn't know about me until I sent the letter, but it was already over. I didn't know you had a wife until you married her. It was harder to keep her a secret with your public profile than it was to hide me, the good little girl who made sure she kept her head down and her mouth shut. Now that I'm free of pain and humiliation, I can almost pity her. You know, those candid shots in ladies' magazines and the entertainment weeklies. I recognize that look in her eyes when the camera has caught her unaware. I used to see it whenever I looked in the mirror. I loved you eternally, supported you unconditionally, and made your hopes, wishes, and desires mine, and you destroyed it all. But today, I can say that life for me is good. The publisher gave me an advance. I made good money talking about the hell of living with you. It took me a long time, but I paid back every cent on those 12 Overmax credit cards. My name is good. If and when I want to charge something, now I own a condo, free and clear. And you know what I was really buying every time I made a payment or handed over the cash for something? My self-respect. That which does not kill us makes us stronger. You pushed me pretty close to that line when you left me, but I came back with the help of God and some good people. Now it's your turn. You really should have listened to Lawton, your accountant. He was one of your few real friends. He warned you not to let my car, the house, and all those other bills go unpaid. But I guess maybe Marlene thought it was the only way to get rid of me. Or was it your idea? They were all in your name, remember? It wasn't my credit the repos and foreclosure affected. It was yours. Marlene even made the tabloids when she threw a queen-size fit after being turned down for a charge account on Rodeo Drive. It would look good on her too, just like her crown from when you made her your queen. It's gotten kind of tarnished, hasn't it? I heard about the charity appeal that canceled your contract to host their broadcast. Did they find out that when you said you'll be pleased to host it for the joy of helping others, that you really meant you'll be pleased to help yourself to some good publicity? Or were they some of the people who have started looking at you sideways and wondering since my book came out? And let's not forget about the little story on Entertainment Tonight about the rift between you and your co-star. And by your own words, friend, the report said that she suspected you had her cut down to a smaller part. What amazed me most when I came to my senses was how you never acknowledged being wrong about anything. We all have the ability to deceive ourselves into thinking someone else is at fault. But most of us don't because we have something called a conscience. It was so much a part of your character that I don't even think you realized you were doing it most of the time. And when you did, you lied to cover your own butt. I don't dwell on those 10 years and everything I lost anymore. I'm reaping the fruits of what hard work has brought me. The road to your success was filled with up, downs, and memories, all of which I kept in a journal, every last word, thought, and deed. Now, I am Carrie Strong, author of a nonfiction New York Times bestseller, Men Will Lie When the Truth Will Do. It's funny how life can change. Who would have thought your line, which brought me to the lowest point in my life, will also be the rocket that shot me up to the highest? I'm sitting in a limo, writing this on my way to a world premiere of my movie, Men Will Lie. Oh, and Stefan, don't worry. The studio had its scriptwriter give your character a different name. They have very good lawyers, but you wouldn't dare sue, would you? Because it's all true, and I have the proof. It's what they call a polite fiction, changing the name, but we know who you are, don't we? Closing words to live by. Nothing in life is original. Every day is a repeat of something that has already happened to someone else. The difference is how they and you go through it. Today is a good day. The sad thing about the past is that some of our friends are not here with us in the present. The best thing about a new year is the celebration of new. The good thing about yesterdays is the worry about them as tomorrow's is gone. The greatest thing about today is right now. Never wait on tomorrows. They never come. I pray that you have good DIC, discipline of intimacy and communication in your life. Be blessed. Now that I have read this book 2 times, all I can say is, really, Steve? Really? And you threw Mary in jail how many times? Not 1 time, but 2 times. And not because Mary was, trying to bust out the car windows, because she was over there at the property making a disturbance, yelling and screaming outside in the front. Not because she had tried to drive her car through the security gate. Not because of that, but because she was coming out in the news trying to tell people about her marriage and how he was cheating on her and didn't give her everything that she was supposed to get in her marriage and was totally played in the end, just like Terry Smith. And then you had the nerve to throw the woman in jail not 1 time but 2 times, then snatch her son from her, and you had been cheating on her the entire time? I mean, when you met Mary, you was with Terry. When you married Mary, you was with Terry. When you had a baby by Mary, you was with Terry. The entire time you was with Terry. And then based on what Terry said, not only was you with her, but you was cheating on Mary with some other women. Look, and personally, I believe that right now, if you would have asked me back in the day, I would have said that he just loved him some Marjorie. But right now, I think he cheating on Marjorie too. Like maybe back in the day, she was the light-skinned, pretty woman with the beautiful eyes. But at this point, you ain't nothing but the old woman with the bags and just spending up all this money. Like that's all she is at this time. I think he's sitting up there messing around with other people. Threw the woman in jail 2 times. Ain't that something? And snatched her son away. And you ain't nothing but a cheater. Then had the audacity, people, to come out with books and 2 movies trying to tell us about some relationships. Man, if you don't go sit down somewhere and don't try to do damage control, because I had heard that now you out trying to tell people how you bought your mom and stuff a house. Well, I heard that your mama was trying to get in contact with you before she passed away and you didn't even come around when she passed away in the hospital. So don't do that. Don't do that. No wonder Mary done came out and she got so much that she wanted to say, because pieces to the puzzle is finally getting filled in. Nevertheless, people, thank you so much for tuning in into all 4 book readings of Men Will Lie When the Truth Will Do, The King, His Queen, and His Other Woman. Stay tuned for the book discussion, our interview with Mary Harvey. Is she even coming here? I don't know. Stay tuned. Please like and share this video and subscribe to Geneva's Closet if you haven't already done so right here on YouTube. And you can follow me on Facebook at Geneva's Closet. And you can email me at genevascloset22@gmail.com. You all have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.